Three names echo across the centuries: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. They weren't kings, warriors, or prophets, they were thinkers, yet their ideas shaped the very foundations of Western civilization. From dusty city squares in Athens to the pages of every philosophy textbook, their questions remain alive. What is truth? What is a good life? And how do we know what we know? Today, we dive into the lives, ideas, and legacies of these three titans of thought. Socrates never wrote a single word, yet his silence left echoes louder than most authors. He wandered the streets of Athens, not with books or sermons, but with questions. To him, every conversation was an opportunity to unravel illusions. He had no wealth, no shoes, no titles, just a relentless desire to uncover truth by stripping away pretense. Through dialogues, not lectures, he taught. He'd approach a politician or poet, ask a simple question, then slowly expose contradictions in their thinking. It wasn't to embarrass, it was to awaken. This process became known as the Socratic method, a kind of intellectual midwifery. Socrates didn't claim to possess knowledge. Instead, he claimed something far more radical. I know that I know nothing. This wasn't humility, it was clarity. Because recognizing one's ignorance is the first step toward real wisdom. But not everyone welcomed this. To many Athenians, Socrates was disruptive, dangerous, a corrupter of youth. He was tried, sentenced to death, and drank a cup of hemlock with dignity. Even in his final moments, he questioned, what is death? A dreamless sleep, a journey to another world. For Socrates, the examined life was the only life worth living, even if it cost him his own. Among Socrates' listeners was a young man named Plato. Shaken by his teacher's death, Plato turned away from politics and toward philosophy with a new purpose: to preserve Socratic thought and expand it. He wrote dialogues placing Socrates as the central figure, but slowly Plato's own voice emerged. Plato believed the world we see, of trees, rivers, people, is only a shadow. Beneath it lies a deeper reality, the world of forms. In that world, justice, beauty, and truth exist in their purest essence, not as opinions but as eternal truths. To Plato, we're like prisoners in a cave, mistaking flickering shadows for reality. Only through philosophy can we turn around and see the light, the source, the truth. But Plato wasn't just a dreamer. He founded the Academy, the first major institution of higher learning in the Western world. It wasn't just a school, it was a space for minds to wrestle with ideas, challenge each other, and seek wisdom. His political vision, outlined in the Republic, imagined a society governed not by wealth or birthright, but by philosopher kings, those who love truth more than power. Plato believed that only those who understand justice are fit to enforce it. And then came Aristotle. He was Plato's brightest student, but also his boldest critic. Where Plato looked to the heavens, Aristotle studied the earth. To him, truth wasn't hidden in some abstract realm of ideals. It was all around us, waiting to be observed, categorized, understood. He was a collector of knowledge: biology, logic, politics, ethics, poetry. Nothing escaped his curiosity. Where Plato saw forms, Aristotle saw essence in the individual thing. A tree isn't a reflection of treeness. It is what it is because of its purpose, its function, its nature. He asked, what makes something what it is? His answer, purpose. Everything has a goal, a reason for being. It's telos. And for humans, that purpose is eudaimonia, a flourishing life achieved through virtue, balance, and reason. Unlike Plato's ideal city, Aristotle focused on the practical. What laws work in the real world? What kind of education fosters character? His work became the foundation of logic, science, and ethics for centuries. Even today, his fingerprints are on almost every academic discipline. Together, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle formed a chain of thought that still stretches across time. Socrates taught us to question. Plato taught us to imagine. Aristotle taught us to analyze. They disagreed, challenged each other, and pushed philosophy forward, not as a fixed answer but as a living conversation. In a world flooded with information but starving for wisdom, their ideas feel more urgent than ever, not because they had all the answers, but because they knew how to ask better questions. So the next time you pause to wonder what truth really is, or what it means to live a good life, remember you're not alone in that quest. You're joining a conversation that began over 2000 years ago, and perhaps that's where the real wisdom lies.